When you work with Excel, and especially a large spreadsheet, you can potentially run into some frustrations, maybe even challenges in trying to get as much information as you can on a single piece of paper so that when it prints, you can still have a readable representation of what the data is. Now, we're going to start today with just the basics. So we're going to look at how you can change the margins, how you can change the paper size, and how you can change the orientation of your spreadsheet. Hi, I'm Terry, one of the Consumer Technology Specialists for Mid-Continent Public Library. And let's start making some really good page layouts for our Excel spreadsheets. As we look at our spreadsheet today, we can see that it has something to do with recording household bills, and it's not completed, so maybe this is just something that somebody set up so they can be sure that they're paying all of their bills on time. But we would like to maybe print this, and we'd like to make sure that it fits on one page. So first of all, let me go to File and Print just so we can see how it looks right now. And when I go to File and Print, I get a print preview that shows me, first of all, that it's not very tall, but it is wide. And in fact, look at that, it's cutting off at August. And as I come down kind of in the middle, but to the left of my print preview, I can see that I actually need to go to the next page to see the rest of this spreadsheet. So there are a couple of things here that maybe we need to consider. One of them is maybe it's just that the margins are too wide. So generally with Excel, you might want to start with the margins to see if they will help you scrunch in what you're looking at. So let me go back. And the way we're going to find our margins is to go to our tabs up at the top of the ribbon where we have the Page Layout tab. And we'll click on it. And then the second section here, the second grouping of buttons, is the Page Setup group. And Margins is our first choice. So let's click that drop down. And we have three kind of preset defaults. The first one is normal, so that's where we are now, where we saw that 3/4 of an inch at the top and the bottom would be the default. And then on the left and the right, it would just be a little narrower at 0.7 inches. Well, if we went to wide, and I'm thinking that's probably not what we want to do, but let's check that out. Let's click on top, bottom, left, and right, all being 1 inch. And then to see how that's going to look, let's go to our File and Print so that we can see a print preview. Well, and again, it's cut off at about the same place where we have January through July on one page. And as we go to the second page, we have August through December. And we'll go back because that's not really what we want. And then we can go to Margins again. And now we have a default narrow. Top and bottom are still 3/4 of an inch, but left and right are now 1/4 of an inch. And that is not bad. That's probably what I would pick just sort of normally as my default, because lots of times your spreadsheets are going to go wide. Well, let's look and see how that would look. And let's go to File and Print. And we can see a print preview. Here we have January through September, which is 2 more months than what we've seen before, but still it's not quite right. Now there is one other thing that I could do here for the page margins, and that is to adjust them sort of on the fly. So down at the very bottom right in my print preview, this very first button says Show Margins. When I click on it, first of all, I can see little dotted lines where the margins are, which is kind of helpful, but I also have these little squares that are just right at each one of the column border lines. Now what I can do is try to narrow down, so I can grab this one here that corresponds with the right edge of September, and I can click and drag and try to smush that in a little bit. Maybe I try with August, and now I have October on that sheet as well. Now it's still not going to really work the way I want, but I can use that little button at the bottom right, Show Margins, to change the margins as well. And sometimes that is your very best friend when it comes to trying to change the margins just sort of visually as you look at the page. Well, let's go back, because we had another option. So besides in the drop-down, the normal, the wide, and the narrow, we can also go to custom margins and click on that. And that brings us to a window that has several tabs at the top where we can make all sorts of changes. This is sort of the old-fashioned way that people used to only have when they wanted to change, say, margins. So now at the top where it says 0.75, I could use the arrows to go down or up, and it even shows me as I make the change, there's a line there that changes. I can make it 0.25 even, which might be the better option. Bottom, I could also change it to 0.25 if I wanted to. Left, I'm not so sure how far I can go. 0 is probably too far, and I think my printer at home would object to having a 0 margin, but I might try, say, 0.2. And on the right, I could try to have, again, it goes to 0, so I would need to type in 0.2 there as well. I just don't think my printer is going to let me go beyond those. Now, I also then could go to Print Preview here in the lower right, and then I can click Print Preview here and see if, yeah, no, I'm still just at October when it comes to trying to get everything on that page. But that is another way to get to Print Preview very easily. And then we will go back. Besides margins, we could also look at the page orientation. And when I click on that drop down, it says right now we're in portrait, which means that, well, let's just look at that and discuss it a little bit. Let's go to File and Print. Because in our Print Preview, it's very obvious that the page is much taller than it is wide. Well, let's go back. Because with orientation, what we may decide to do is make it landscape. And we can even see by this little picture to the left of where it says landscape that it is going to be wider than it is tall. So let's click landscape and go to our File and Print so we can see our preview. Oh, and look at that. Now I can see that that whole spreadsheet is going to fit horizontally on one page. And I might even decide, we didn't turn off the Show Margins button here in the lower right, so I can use these little boxes to kind of move things around a little bit and maybe try to center it on the page even. I'm a little concerned that as things go to the right, I might need a narrower right margin as well, but I could change that right margin for right now and say, okay, December, if you get too wide, you may have to go to another page, or I need to do some more page adjusting, which is one of the things about Excel that for some reason people get a little challenged by, and that is with Excel, because it tends to be so big and there are so many things that you can change to change the page layout. People sometimes get a little frustrated thinking that, gosh, all I do is go to page layout and I make a change, then I'm going to come back and do another change, and why can't it just stay all the same? And well, that's sort of the way Excel is. You're just going to be in page layout quite a bit as you make some adjustments. Let's go back, because there is one other adjustment that we might consider, at least for today, and that is in our page setup group. Let's go to size and click that drop down, and as I scroll to the top of this list, these sizes that start out A's and B's and even a C here, these are European sizes of paper, so chances are you would not use these. And then as we come down, we see Monarch and Commercial and DL. Those three choices are envelopes. Some people use Excel for extraordinary uses, certainly not just as spreadsheets, and so I suppose it's possible that for some reason you would want to print on an envelope-sized piece of paper or even an envelope. But for us today, we're going to come down even farther and see that, yes, we are on letter size 8.5 by 11, and it's even in inches now, so we can relate a little easier to that. But there's also legal that for spreadsheets, if your printer can handle the legal size paper, this adds 3 more inches to the either width or length of your paper. So it's 8.5 by 14. Let's select it and then look at it. So we'll go to File and Print and look at the extra inches here on the right when we're in landscape. Or let's go back and let's also look at that in portrait. And then we'll go back to File and Print. And look at all of the extra paper we have simply because we've selected that legal size paper. Now again, my printer at home can't handle legal, and so for me to get it printed, I'd need to go to a print shop or something, but it might be something, depending on what I need to do, that would be the best option. Well, let's also then go to size, and as we come down, some of these sizes are sizes that are maybe for pictures. I'm not sure where even some of these are coming from, but ledger is something that seems like a natural for a spreadsheet because, well, ledger seems like that's spreadsheets, certainly accounting. And look at the size, it's 11 by 17. So the 11 is the same as letter, but the 17 is twice 8.5. So it's really like 2 pages put together. Let's see how that looks. So let's click on Ledger, and then we'll go to File and Print. And now as we look at our print preview, we have even more paper here that is going down vertically because, wow, that's 17 inches instead of 11. So 6 extra inches of space for your spreadsheet. And for large spreadsheets, that could be exactly what we need. However, let me go to Orientation, and let's go back to Landscape and look at it that way. We'll go to File and Print. And now it's all out to the right, but still kind of a nice size. But definitely it's so much more space for those large spreadsheets that go out to the right quite a ways. So again, that would probably not be handled by a lot of just regular printers, but I would assume that some print shops would be able to print this for you. So Ledger may be your best option when it comes to size. And so we've looked at margins, orientation, and paper size as some of the very basic ways that you can change the settings to make your spreadsheet fit on pages the way you would like for them to fit. To learn even more, be sure to go to mymcpl.org/online learning, where you'll find such great resources as Universal Class, LinkedIn Learning, and Learning Express Library. Be sure to also find us on Facebook and YouTube. On Facebook, you can find us at MCPL 360, and on YouTube you can find us on our MCPL MO channel, and be sure to look for our MCPL Consumer Technology Resources playlist. If you miss one of our premieres, don't worry, you can come back and find them when it's convenient to you.